Welcome to the Light and Shadow podcast. I am Grey, quantum-informed spiritual mentor, founder of the Grey Ethereus Academy, and the creator of the Alchemical Pattern-to-Healing Framework. I work at the threshold where insight alone stops working and real transformation begins. This is a space for the spiritually aware who are ready to go deeper than healing has taken them. Your body is not betraying you. I want to start there. Because if you are living with chronic pain, persistent illness, unexplained symptoms, mental health struggles, or a body that simply will not cooperate no matter what you do, the story you have been told is that something has gone wrong, that your body is broken, that you are a victim of biology, of genetics, of bad luck, of a diagnosis that now defines you. That story is incomplete. And in its incompleteness, it is keeping you sick. Here is what the ancient healers knew. What was encoded in Ayurvedic medicine 5,000 years ago, in traditional Chinese medicine, in the shamanic healing traditions of every indigenous culture on earth, in the mystery schools of Egypt, in the teachings that predate every modern medical institution by millennia. Your body does not create illness randomly. Every symptom, every pain, every chronic condition, every breakdown in physical or mental health is the body's precise, intelligent, last resort communication system, expressing what the mind and spirit have been unable or unwilling to process. The body speaks in symptoms the way the universe speaks in numbers. It is a language. And once you learn to read it, once you understand what your lower back pain is saying, what your throat tightening is communicating, what your autoimmune condition is expressing on your behalf, healing becomes not just possible, but inevitable. Because you cannot suppress something indefinitely. The body will not allow it. It will carry the emotional weight, the unprocessed grief, the swallowed anger, the chronic stress, the spiritual disconnection. It will carry all of it patiently, faithfully, for years, until it cannot anymore. And then it will speak. Today we are going into the language of the body, the spiritual and emotional root of the most common physical and mental health conditions people face, how suppression becomes symptom, how thoughts create biology, how the body heals itself when the root cause is addressed, and how you, without a prescription, without a diagnosis defining you, can begin the real healing today. This is not anti-medicine. This is pro-root cause. This is the conversation medicine does not have time for. And it is the conversation that changes everything. Before we go symptom by symptom, let's establish the mechanism. Because this is not magical thinking. This is biology that mainstream medicine is only beginning to catch up with. The research of Dr. Bessel van der Kolk, and before him, the work of Dr. John Sarno, Dr. Candace Pert, and the entire field of psychoneuroimmunology establishes something that should have restructured medicine entirely. The body and the mind are not separate systems. They are one integrated system, and emotional experience produces direct, measurable, physiological change. Every emotion you feel, every fear, every grief, every suppressed rage, every chronic anxiety produces a corresponding biochemical event in your body. Stress hormones flood your system. Inflammation markers elevate, immune function suppresses, neural pathways alter, muscle tissue contracts and holds. A single emotional experience is a full body event. Now imagine not one emotional experience, but a pattern. A chronic emotional state, years of suppressed grief, decades of swallowed anger, a lifetime of carrying responsibility that was never yours, a body that has been living in fear for so long it has forgotten what safety feels like. That emotional pattern does not stay in the mind. It downloads into the body. It lives in the tissue, in the fascia, the organs, the nervous system. It alters gene expression. It creates inflammation. It suppresses immunity. It produces pain in the precise location where the energetic burden has been stored. Traditional Chinese medicine, which predates Western medicine by thousands of years and has been validated by modern research far more than it has been refuted, maps the body's organ systems to specific emotional states with extraordinary precision. The liver holds anger and resentment. The kidneys hold fear. The lungs hold grief. The heart holds joy. And when love is broken or denied, the heart is the first organ affected. The spleen and stomach hold worry and overthinking. This is not metaphor. These are documented clinical observations accumulated over thousands of years of treating human beings whose emotional states produce predictable physical symptoms in predictable organ systems. Ayurveda, the 5,000-year-old Indian system of medicine, goes further, mapping the body's energy centers or chakras to specific domains of life experience. When energy in a particular chakra is blocked through unprocessed emotion, through trauma, through chronic patterns of thought, the physical systems associated with that chakra begin to malfunction. This is not poetry. This is a detailed clinical system that predicts with remarkable accuracy which physical symptoms will manifest based on which life domains are in dysfunction. At the quantum level, the level at which matter is actually organized, your body is not a solid object. It is a field of vibrating energy, organized by consciousness, responsive to thought and emotion in ways that are only beginning to be measurable with modern instruments. Dr. Masaru Emoto's research on water crystals, showing that water exposed to specific thoughts and words forms specific crystalline structures, points towards something the ancient healers knew. Consciousness organizes matter. And since your body is 70% water, what you think, feel, and believe is literally organizing your biology. Your body is not a machine that breaks down randomly. It is a quantum field that reflects your inner state with perfect, compassionate, relentless precision. Now let's go through the most significant and common physical and mental health conditions, their emotional and spiritual roots, and what the body is trying to say through each one. Shoulders. Shoulders are the body's burden bearers. They are where you carry what you feel responsible for. Other people's problems, other people's emotions, other people's lives. The symptom is chronic shoulder tension, tightness, pain, frozen shoulder, neck and shoulder stiffness that never fully releases no matter how much you stretch or massage. The root is you are carrying responsibility that is not yours. You have made yourself responsible for outcomes, for people, for situations that belong to others. You may be the person everyone comes to, the one who holds everything together, the one who cannot rest because if you stop holding it, it will all fall apart. And your shoulders know this. They have been holding it for you, literally, while your mind pretend everything was fine. What the body is saying, put it down. This is not yours to carry. So how is the release? Identify specifically what you are holding that belongs to someone else. Not figuratively, actually. Whose emotional weight are you managing? Whose responsibilities have you adopted? What would happen if you simply stopped holding it and trusted that the people it belongs to are capable of holding it themselves? Now, the physical practice is consciously drop your shoulders multiple times throughout the day. Notice how high they are when you're not thinking about it. Every time you drop them, pair it with the internal declaration, this is not mine to carry. Now, the food and earth medicine is anti-inflammatory herbs, turmeric, ginger, boswellia. Address the physical inflammation. But the root requires the release of the weight, not just the treatment of the symptom. Now for the lower back. The lower back is the body's foundation. It supports the entire structure above it, and it is directly connected in both Chinese medicine and Ayurvedic tradition to the root chakra, the energetic center of safety, security, belonging, and material survival. The symptoms: chronic lower back pain, sciatica, disc problems, lumbar instability. The epidemic of lower back pain in the modern world is not primarily structural, it is existential. Now, the root of it is financial stress, fear of survival, feeling unsupported by life, the chronic anxiety of not having enough. Could be money, security, stability, foundation. The sense that the ground beneath you is not reliable, that you could lose everything, that you are one crisis away from collapse. So, what the body is saying, you do not feel safe, and you have been carrying the fear of not surviving in this tissue for years. The release is the root chakra heals through grounding, literally and energetically, bare feet on earth, time in nature, physical stability practices, and most critically, addressing the core belief that you are not safe, that life does not support you, that you must grip and control to survive. The financial anxiety that lives in the lower back is rarely about the actual numbers. It is about a deep, often childhood rooted belief that there is not enough, that you are not enough, that the universe is not abundant, that you must earn your right to exist through constant effort. Now, the food and earth medicine are root vegetables like sweet potatoes, beet, carrot, turnip. Literally feed the root energy of the body. They grow into the earth and carry its grounding frequency. Magnesium-rich foods like dark leafy greens, pumpkin seeds, dark chocolate relax the muscle tissue that has been holding the fear in the lower lumbar. And thought reframe is to say, I am supported, life provides for me, there is enough. I am enough. Now, the heart and the chest. The heart center, the physical heart, the lungs, the chest, is the body's love organ in every tradition that has studied the body-emotion connection. And it is the most vulnerable organ we have, because love is the most fundamental human need and the most frequently wounded. The symptoms are heart palpitations, chest tightening, difficulty breathing, asthma, recurring respiratory illnesses, heart disease. The literal physical ache in the chest that accompanies grief, that has not been allowed to fully move. The root of it is unexpressed or suppressed grief, heartbreak that was never fully felt, that was intellectualized, minimized, hurried through, or numbed. Love that was withheld from self or others. The closing of the heart as protection after pain. What the body is saying, you have not let yourself grieve. You have not let yourself love fully. The love that has nowhere to go is pressing against your chest from the inside. Grief is not an emotion to get over. It is an energy that must move. When it does not move, when it is suppressed in the name of strength, or numbed through a distraction, or bypassed through spirituality, it stays in the chest. And over time, a chest full of unexpressed grief becomes a body that struggles to breathe, a heart that struggles to beat with ease, a lung capacity that diminishes as the space for feeling constricts. Now, the release is grief must be allowed to move through the body, through tears, through sound, through physical expression. The body needs to cry, not polite, contained tears, the full somatic release of grief that has been held. This is not weakness. This is the most physiologically necessary act available to a grieving body. The food and earth medicine are hawthornberry, one of the oldest heart medicines on earth, supports both the physical and emotional heart. Rose, as tea, as oil, as flower essence, is the plant medicine of the heart center, used across traditions for heartbreak and grief. Cacao, in its pure form, carries heart-opening properties that have been used ceremonially for thousands of years. And here are the thought reframe to say, I allow myself to feel what I feel. My grief is not weakness. It is love with nowhere to go. I open my heart, knowing that the pain of opening is smaller than the cost of remaining closed. The throat. The throat is the body's expression center. It is where your truth, your authentic voice, your genuine self-expression, your ability to say no, to say what is real, to communicate your actual experience, either moves freely or becomes blocked. The symptoms are chronic sore throats, thyroid dysfunction. The thyroid sits directly in the throat. Recurring laryngitis, difficulty swallowing, tightness in the throat, the sensation of something stuck that won't clear. Now, the root of it is you are not speaking your truth. You have been silencing yourself for approval, for peace, to avoid conflict perhaps, to protect others from your real feelings because you learned early that your authentic voice was unwelcome or unsafe. Now, the thyroid epidemic, particularly among women, is not coincidental in a culture that has systematically told women their voices are too much, too loud, too opinionated, too emotional. The thyroid sits at the throat. It governs metabolism, the rate at which you process and express energy in the world. When the voice is suppressed, the thyroid suppresses the body's entire energetic expression. So what the body is saying here, you have something to say. Say it. The release is to practice speaking the smaller true thing first. The thing you have been holding back in a particular relationship, the boundary you have been afraid to set, the feeling you have been minimizing, the no you have been swallowing. The throat heals through expression, through speaking, through singing, through toning, through the physical vibration of sound moving through the tissue that has been held silent. Now, the food in the earth medicine is raw honey. Raw honey is one of the most powerful throat medicines available. Antibacterial, anti-inflammatory, and vibrationally associated with sweetness of expression. Slippery elm soothes inflamed throat tissue. Lemon and ginger tea reduces inflammation while stimulating the expression center. Now, the thought refrain to say is, my voice matters. My truth is safe to speak. I do not need permission to express what is real for me. The gut, the stomach, and the digestive system. The gut is the body's second brain, literally. The enteric nervous system contains more neurons than the spinal cord and produces more serotonin than the brain. And it is exquisitely sensitive to emotional experience. Now, the symptoms are IBS, chronic digestive issues, bloating, nausea, stomach pain, acid reflux, Crohn's disease, colitis, food sensitivities that seem to multiply, the stomach that drops when you're anxious, the digestion that shuts down under stress. Now, the root cause is chronic anxiety, worry, and the inability to digest. Not just the food, but experience. The gut processes everything: food, emotion, experience, information. When you are chronically overwhelmed, when life is presenting more than your system can assimilate, the gut reflects that inability to process. In Chinese medicine, the stomach and spleen are the organs of worry and overthinking. The person who cannot stop mentally processing, who lies awake running scenarios, who cannot let go of a concern, who circles the same thoughts endlessly, is feeding their worry directly into their digestive system. So what the body is saying here, you are trying to digest too much. You are overthinking what needs to be felt, not analyzed. Trust what you cannot control. Now, what is the release? The gut heals when the nervous system shifts from sympathetic activation, which is the flight or a fight or state of chronic anxiety, to parasympathetic rest. This happens through breath, through presence, through the deliberate practice of releasing mental control over outcomes. You cannot digest food properly in a state of fear. Your body redirects resources away from digestion when it believes you are in danger. The practice of eating slowly in a calm state with genuine presence, rather than eating anxiously, quickly distracted, is itself a healing practice. The food in earth medicine are fermented foods like kimchi, sauerkraut, kefir, kombucha. Rebuild the gut microbiome that chronic stress destroys. Ginger, fennel, and peppermint soothe digestive inflammation. Aloe vera heals the gut lining. Bone broth, or its plant equivalent, seals and nourishes the gut wall. And chamomile, the great nerve herb, calms both the digestive system and the anxious mind simultaneously. Thought reframe is the following. I trust my ability to handle what life brings. I release what I cannot control. I am safe in this moment. Now, the immune system and the autoimmune conditions. The autoimmune conditions, where the immune system attacks the body's own tissue, are among the most significant health phenomena of the modern era, and their emotional root is one of the most important patterns to understand. The symptoms are lupus, rheumatoid arthritis, multiple sclerosis, Hashimoto's, psoriasis, fibromyalgia, chronic fatigue syndrome, conditions where the body's own defense system has turned against itself. Now, the root cause is self-attack, self-criticism. The inner critique, so harsh, so relentless, so consuming that the immune system, which is the physical expression of self-defense, learns to turn inward. The person who never stops criticizing themselves, who holds themselves to impossible standards, who absorbed early in life the message that they were fundamentally wrong, flawed, or unacceptable. The body is performing physically what the mind has been doing psychologically. I am the enemy. I am what needs to be destroyed. So what the body is saying, stop attacking yourself. The harshest thing in your environment is your own internal voice. Now, the release is this healing requires the most fundamental shift available, from self-attack to self-compassion. Not as a spiritual platitude, but as a clinical intervention. Research constantly shows that self-compassion practices reduce inflammatory markers, improve immune function, and reduce autoimmune symptom severity. The inner critique must be identified, named, and consciously refused, not suppressed, engaged with. Where did this voice come from? Whose voice was it originally? And is it actually keeping you safe? Or has it been destroying you from the inside while pretending to be your conscience? The food and earth medicine are anti-inflammatory foods, are the foundation, like the turmeric, omega-3 rich foods, leafy greens, berries, eliminating inflammatory triggers, like processed sugar, refined oils, gluten for many people, removes the fuel the inflammatory response runs on. Adaptogenic herbs like ashwagandha, reishi mushroom, holy basil regulate the immune response that has become dysregulated. And sunlight, genuine sunlight on skin, remains one of the most powerful immune regulators available. Now, thoughts reframe is, I am not my enemy. I am worthy of my own defense. I extend myself to compassion. I give it freely to others. Now, headache and migraines. Tension headaches, chronic migraines, pressure behind the eye, the vice grip headache that arrives during or after high stress periods. The root is the need to control, perfectionism. The pressure you are putting on yourself to perform, to get it right, to manage outcomes, to hold everything together through the force of your mental will. Headaches are the body's signal that the mind is working too hard, that you are trying to think your way through something that requires surrender, not strategy. What the body is saying, you are gripping too tightly. Release control. The pressure you feel in your head is the pressure you are applying to your life. Now, the release is practices of surrender. Meditation, not as another thing to do perfectly, but as a genuine release of mental grip. The deliberate decision to allow outcomes to unfold rather than forcing them into shape. The food and earth medicine. Magnesium deficiency is clinically linked to migraines. Magnesium glycinate supplementation has strong research support. Feverfew and butterbur are herbal medicines with documented efficacy for migraine prevention. Staying hydrated. Chronically dehydrated brains create headache. and reducing caffeine dependency, which creates rebound headaches, addresses the physical substrate. Now, the thought reframe is I release control over what I cannot control. I trust the process. My mind can rest. Now, skin conditions like eczema, psoriasis, acne, chronic rashes, hives, the skin that reacts to everything. The root is boundary violation. Either your boundaries are being violated by others, or you have no boundaries and the world is getting in too far, or you are in a situation where you feel exposed, unprotected, and raw. The skin is the body's literal boundary between self and world. When that boundary feels unsafe in an emotional or relational context, the skin reflects it. So acne specifically carries the energy of suppressed emotion trying to surface. Things being pushed out, erupting, needing to come through. The face, the surface you present to the world, breaking out is the body saying, what are you presenting to the world is not what is actually happening inside. What the body is saying, your boundaries need attention. You are either letting too much in or holding too much in. The food and earth medicine is the gut-skin axis, is one of the most documented connections in function medicine. Healing the gut heals the skin. Zinc, found in pumpkin seeds and legumes, is critical for skin healing. Aloe vera applied topically and taken internally. Calendula for inflammation and elimination of dairy and sugar, the two most significant dietary drivers of inflammatory skin conditions. Now, the thought reframe is I am allowed to have boundaries. I am safe within my own skin. What is inside me is safe to express. Now, for mental health, anxiety and depression. For anxiety, the body living in the future, chronically projecting into scenarios that haven't happened, running threat assessment on possibilities rather than present reality. The nervous system, stuck in activation with no actual threat to respond to. The root is loss of trust in yourself, in life, in the safety of the present moment. Often rooted in early experiences where the environment was genuinely unpredictable and hypervigilance was survival. The nervous system learned, stay alert, something is always about to go wrong. Now the release is grounding, literally, bare feet on earth. The negative ions in soil have documented anxiolytic effects. Nature exposure reduces cortisol measurably. Breath work, specifically extended exhale breathing, directly activates the parasympathetic nervous system and interrupts the anxiety cycle. Now for depression, is the body living in the past. Energy collapse inward, the life force withdrawn from engagement with the present. Not a chemical imbalance as its primary cause, but a spiritual and emotional state that produces chemical changes in the brain. The root is disconnection from self, from purpose, from authentic expression, from genuine connection. The life that is being lived does not match the life the soul came here to live. And the body is expressing that misalignment as a withdrawal of vitality. What the body is saying through both, you are not present, you are not grounded, you are not living as yourself. So the food and earth medicine, our sunlight, is the most underutilized antidepressant available. 20 minutes of direct sun exposure increases serotonin, regulates circadian rhythm, and produces vitamin D, whose deficiency is clinically linked to depression. St. John's wort has decades of research for mild to moderate depression. Lion's mane mushroom supports neural regeneration. Cold water exposure, cold showers while swimming produces a measurable norepinephrine response that interrupts both anxiety and depression cycles. Exercise, particularly outdoor exercise, is as effective as medication for mild to moderate depression in multiple clinical trials. The thought reframe for anxiety is I am safe in this moment. This moment is all that exists. I trust myself to handle what comes. The thought reframe for depression, I am allowed to want more than this. My vitality is not gone. It is waiting for the life that actually fits for me. Now let's talk about the most powerful healing tool available and the most underutilized. Your thoughts are not neutral. Every thought you think produces a biochemical response in your body. Dr. Candace Pearl's research on neuropeptides, the molecules of emotion, demonstrated that every emotional state produces specific chemical messengers that travel throughout the body and dock at receptor sites on every cell. Your cells are literally listening to your thoughts. Chronic negative thought patterns produce chronic inflammatory chemistry. The person who spends most of their inner life in self-criticism, in fear, in resentment, in hopelessness is bathing every cell in their body in the biochemistry of those states. Over years, that biochemistry produces disease. Chronic elevated thought states produce healing chemistry. Gratitude, love, awe, genuine joy, states of presence and expansion. These produce anti-inflammatory chemistry, immune-supporting neuropeptides, and the neurological conditions under which the body can heal. This is not positive thinking as a spiritual bypass. This is biology. Now, the placebo effect, dismissed by conventional medicine as the thing they need to control for, is actually the most important data in all of medicine. It consistently demonstrates that belief alone produces measurable physiological change. Tumors shrink, pain resolves, immune function improves, all from a belief, a thought that healing is happening. The placebo effect is not evidence that the treatment was fake. It is evidence that the mind is a treatment, the most powerful one available. Now, self-sabotage as suppression. Self-sabotage, the pattern of undermining your own healing, your own progress, your own well-being, is not stupidity or weakness. It is suppression in behavioral form. You self-sabotage your health because some part of you believes you deserve to be sick. Because illness has become an identity. Because wellness requires a change that feels more threatening than the familiar pain. Because the symptom is serving a function. Getting you to the rest you never give yourself permission to take. Getting you the care you never ask for directly. Giving you an acceptable reason to stop when you don't believe your own limits are enough. Healing requires asking, what is this symptom doing for me that I am not doing for myself? What is the illness giving you that you need to learn to give yourself without needing to collapse first? Now, here's a truth that should restructure everything. Your body wants to heal. It is designed to heal. Every system in your body is oriented toward homeostasis, toward balance, repair, and restoration. The body heals, cuts without your instruction. It fights infection without your conscious direction. It repairs tissue, regenerates cells, balances hormones, all without your management. You breathe without thinking. Your heart beats without effort. 37 trillion cells coordinate their activity with a precision that makes our most advanced technology look primitive. The body does not need to be told how to heal. It needs the conditions for healing to be created. Now, those conditions are: remove the suppression, the emotional weight, the unprocessed trauma, the chronic negative thought patterns. These are the obstacles to healing, not the absence of the right drug. Remove the suppression and the body begins to heal. Restore the input, clean water, whole foods, particularly plants, herbs, and foods that have not been processed, chemically altered, or stripped of their vibrational nutrition. Sunlight, movement, sleep. These are not alternative medicine. They are the original medicine. The body evolved over millions of years in relationship with these inputs. It knows what to do with them. Return to presence. The healing state is the present state. The body heals in rest, in safety, in present. It cannot fully heal in chronic sympathetic activation, in fear and stress, in the future and the past. The practice of returning to the present moment is not a spiritual nicety. It is a clinical intervention. And trust the process. The body heals in its own timing. Symptoms sometimes intensify before they resolve. as suppressed material surfaces, as stored emotion releases, as old patterns reorganize. This is not failure, this is healing. Now, the earth produces in its plants the precise medicines the human body requires. This is not a coincidence. We evolved together. The phytochemicals in plants were not created randomly. They are the earth's pharmacy, and they interact with human biology with a sophistication that no synthetic compound can replicate. Turmeric for inflammation, ashwagandha for cortisol and nervous system regulation, reishi for immune intelligence, elderberry for viral resistance, milk thistle for liver healing, valerian and passion flower for nervous system calming, dandelion for liver and kidney support, nettle for mineral replenishment, ginger for digestion, circulation, and inflammation, echinacea for immune activation. These are not supplements. They are relationships between your body and the intelligence of the earth. And they work with a precision and a safety record that spans thousands of years of human use. Your body is not betraying you. It has never betrayed you. Every symptom, every pain, every illness, every mental health struggle has been your body's most compassionate, most persistent, most faithful attempt to get your attention. To say, something here needs to be addressed. Something you have been avoiding needs to be felt. Something you have been carrying needs to be put down. Your body will express what you repress as communication, as the final frontier of a system that tried every other way to reach you first. Through intuition, through emotion, through recurring thoughts, through synchronicity. And when none of those worked, downloaded the message into the tissue where you could not ignore. The lower back carrying your financial fear, the shoulders holding responsibilities that were never yours, the throat tightening around the truth you have not spoken, the heart aching with grief that never got to move, the gut shamming with anxiety about outcomes you cannot control, the immune system attacking the self that has been attacked from the inside for decades. These are not malfunctions. They are messages. And the healing, the real healing, not the management of symptoms, but the resolution of their source, begins the moment you stop fighting the message and start receiving it. Ask your body what it's trying to tell you. Sit with it. Not to analyze it, to feel it. What emotion lives in that pain? What truth lives in that symptom? What have you been carrying that it's time to put down? What have you been avoiding that is ready to be felt? Then nourish yourself the way the earth intended, with food that grew from soil, with herbs that have healed human beings for thousands of years, with sunlight and water and movement and rest, with the thoughts that build rather than destroy, with the emotions that move rather than suppress, and trust, deeply trust, that the body that created your symptoms has also already created the blueprint for your healing. It knows the way back. It has always known. You do not need to be fixed. You need to be heard. Start there. Start now. If you recognize your body's symptoms in this episode and you're ready to go to the root, to do the real work of releasing what the body has been holding, this is exactly the work of the Alchemical Pattern-to-Healing Framework. Private mentorship and session information is at the link in the show notes below. Until next time.